said to me, "Hi, how you doing?" And I said, "Fine, I'm doing okay." And then he asked me, "Are you George Taliaferro?" I had never been in Virginia. I had never been in that stadium. That was my first time. And I said, "How in the world does he know my name?" All he had to do was to be able to read. I had on a jacket that Indiana University had given all of the players on the Big Ten championship team in 1945, and it said, "George Taliaferro." So all he had to do was be able to read. Well, I was dumbfounded. But then he explained to me who he was and that he would be right back. He ran down the steps and went out on the field and then turned up and pointed, talking to the head coach. He then waved at me to come down on the field. Now, I am 19 years of age. Some of those guys, in fact, the majority of the guys on that college football team at that time were veterans of World War II. And yet the coach wanted me to make some remarks. Well, I don't know what I said because I didn't talk as much then as I do now. But that is how I got into the state of Virginia. So Milton asked me if I would remain on campus and have dinner with him. And I said, of course, being a person with the need for 3 squares and a flop, I said to him, "Yeah, I'd be happy to." He said, "I want to introduce you to someone." Well, to make a long story short, we get to the cafeteria, get our food, get over to a table, and there sits 3 just magnificently beautiful young co-eds. And he sits down and he says to me, I want to introduce you to my play sister. Her name is Viola Jones. And all I did was to drop my lower lip and gawk. I said, "Where has she been all of my life?" Now, see, you guys are laughing. You're laughing at an old man.
Good.
But let me tell you, I don't remember anything after he said my play sister. I don't remember her name. I went up on that campus a week later, and I just waited to see her. And when I saw her, I said, "I want to introduce you to a couple of my Army friends." And I didn't know her name. I said, "This is my girlfriend."
And you've been together ever since?
Not ever since. It took me a little while to convince her.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because, I asked her 3 months after I met her, I asked her to marry me, and she said no. And I went back to the Army barracks and took off all my clothes and stood in front of a full-length mirror and said, how could she turn down perfection? And, of course, that's where the stalking comes in. Because my wife graduated from high school when she was 14 years old and graduated from Virginia State College when she was 18.
Okay.
My wife has degrees from Johns Hopkins University, Morgan State University, and Indiana University School of Law. Mm-hmm. And as I tried to tell our 4 daughters, they hit me on the head once in a while in football, but they didn't knock my brains out. I knew what was best for me. It was just a matter of trying to convince her.
Wow. Well, I can tell you this much, George. I can attest to just watching the 2 of you, walk around last year at the conference, man. I mean it, and I mean this with every ounce of blood in my body. If I could get and feel and be what you guys are, man, oh man, what a blessing! Because you guys. She is the one you need to try to emulate. She is just one of the most magnificent human beings I have ever had the pleasure to meet. Wow.
I mean, just, and as I say, we have 4 daughters, 5 grandsons, 2 granddaughters, and a great-granddaughter.
Wow.
And I mean, she is the captain of our ship. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And I'm just blessed.
I hear you,
but
man.
I got sense enough to know that I am blessed. It's not about me. It is about us.
I definitely hear you there.
Yeah, it's about us.
So, I don't know, George, if you wanted to take any questions, but we have a caller on the line.
Yeah, listen, let him come forth.
Okay, all right. So, who do we have on the line? We just we're joined by a caller. Hello. Maybe they're just listening.
I can't hear him, Steve.
Yeah. We have a caller from the 317 area code. Did they want to ask George a question or say hello?
Keep going. So, George.
We'll put him back on hold, but we do want to talk about the NFL experience too, right, Corey?
Well, I was going to ask you, George. George, what is your opinion of the present day NFL?
I'm not too much impressed with it.
Okay.
And the reason, I think I can sum it up in the rich get richer, the poor remain the same. Tragically, and I will use two names because I have so little respect for them as athletes, Terrell Owens and Ocho Cinco. And both of those guys could have been role models for all humankind ad infinitum, and yet they ruined the opportunity for kids to come along and not be able to look at them as role models and therefore miss a fervent opportunity for them to become better human beings.
Gotcha.
All human beings have worth and dignity, and all human beings have the right to self-determination, so long as we don't step on the path or the opportunity of another human being.
Yep. Those
are values that I hold quite dear in my system of values.
Wow. I totally agree. In fact, I actually said, George, right before we brought you on, that none of us that's been fortunate enough to actually be a part of this game, none of us are bigger than the game itself. And for some reason, there seems to be this I don't know, man. It's almost like a disconnect.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, Corey.
Yes,
because Ocho Cinco said it. He is an entertainer.
Okay.
But he has used athletics
to get him there
in the worst fashion that it ought to be.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. I'm gonna tell you now. I'm 41, but a lot of my friends, kidding, they joke and they tell me that I act like I'm 71, and I but
that,
what I would
whether
say
they
is
know
that,
it or not, they are paying you a tremendous compliment.
Well, what I would say, and I don't mean to get biblical here, but my mother and my father taught me, and my family taught me, and obviously my church taught me, to whom much is given, much is required at all times. And I think somewhere along the way, there's this ego, and Steve and I joke, but I kind of like coined this little phrase. I said, when I see ego, I go, because I've learned that there are a lot of drugs out here, and there are a lot of dangerous people, but I can attest there's nothing worse than a man or woman that is full of themselves, full of ego, because it's a dangerous drug. And when you look at the game, and when you look at just the sheer amount of money that's involved, it truly has changed. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to hear you personally come on and tell your actual story, because there has to be a way to connect to a kid when they're in high school and they're going off to college, and then you stay in touch with that kid. Right, you know what I mean?
Incredible. Yes, incredible.
Yes, so that's what
by the time these kids get ready to go to college, Steve and Corey, we have lost them.
There you go.
We have lost any contact with them to assist them in looking at and attempting to be the best human being that they can be. I could tell you of an extremely famous basketball coach who, in my judgment, has the greatest inferiority complex of anybody I have ever met in my life. And what he does is to offend anybody to whom he is introduced, because he does not want them to be able to decipher the fact that he is not a person that thinks very well of himself. And I mean an incredible human being. But that's the way he reacts to all human beings with whom he comes into contact.
Wow. Well, tell me this, George. You know, since we were talking about kids and talking about them making that adjustment, if you could say something, right here and on First in Life that obviously will be recorded and for this day and forever more. If you could just take a minute or two, what would you say to them? Going back to you and your dreams when you were 8, and then here it is now you're 86 years young. What would you say to them to inspire them to I guess keep the faith and to stay focused and to stay grounded?
Be the best human being that you can be and a role model to all, because if it is good for you, it's worth sharing with any and everybody else. Be the best that you can be, and that means taking into account all of the experiences that you have, and seek out an education which will prepare you for as long as you are on the face of the earth.
Wow.
That's the way I try to live my life.
Well,
and there isn't a stranger that is ever that after I meet them for a minute.
Powerful.
Well,
there is something good in them that I can retrieve, and I'd like to believe there's something good that they can get from me. It's a win-win situation.
Great words of wisdom, man. Great words of wisdom, and I tell you, I know I speak for Steve and the whole First in Life team here. We appreciate you for coming on and taking this time out of your Friday and just sharing and being open and being honest. I know the convention is coming up soon, so I'm going to try and join you guys there. I'm not totally sure yet if I'm going to get there or not, but I do know this much. I'm going to take some time out, and as you told me, don't tell me, show me. Well, I'm going to take some time out, and I'm going to get up there to actually see you guys again face to face, because you warm my heart. You are such a blessing, and I know you get pulled from every angle with people wanting to talk to you and to pick your brains and to talk to you about your book and your career and obviously your beautiful wife. But you are such a breath of fresh air, because everything you've said here in this brief hour has been positive, and I love that, because that's what we're about. That's what our show is about. That's what our life is about, and it's about second chances, but it's also about having those values and those views, but more importantly, being a man of your word and that character, so that when you meet that person on the street that could be, I guess, a total stranger, you don't leave them feeling that way.
No way. I have a master's degree in social work, and I taught social work classes at Indiana University. And this is all about helping and sharing with people of all walks of life whatever is good about me.
Wow.
So one of the things, Corey, you mentioned the book. George, can you share with us the title of your book, your inspiration, and where people could buy that book today? Is it on Amazon?
That's the thing that I wanted to say to you. The book is no longer in print.
Okay.
The title of the book is Taliaferro, Breaking Barriers from the National Football League Draft to the Ivory Tower. That means being the first African-American drafted in the